this are two friends, Georgia and Jared. And they not only have they been widowed, they've also been married and then got divorced. And so now we're going to hear a little bit of experience from their life. And they have some special guests with them here today also. So I'm excited to hear them tonight. So thanks very much for everybody attending. Appreciate y'all coming. And I'm going to turn the time over to Georgia and Jared.
Yeah, John, appreciate it.
Hey, well, we're having some technical difficulties, so this is what our.
My phone's bogged down to what's needed. Get off the internet, all right? Jeez.
Okay, so, what experiences have you guys had? So who here has been divorced? Okay, know a few. Who here has been, married? Okay, you didn't raise your hand. You sure you're in the right spot? Who here has been widowed? Okay, good, we're at the right place. We are going to give you guys the opportunity to ask, we're gonna do hopefully a Q&A at the end. So I'm gonna pass some papers around.
Yep.
Outside. So if you guys have questions, put them on these papers and then pass them up when you're done.
We'll put them on the papers, okay?
I've been with it, high school born and nothing I've noticed. And I don't know if you have any facts of this, but I've noticed that a lot of first time widowers or widows end up with divorces.
We'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
And if you want to put a question on the paper, then we'll sort through it.
Yeah, and then pass those up. Okay.
Okay. So, do any of you guys ever feel this a little bit? Does this look a little bit overwhelming to you? Anybody got on dating profiles and it's like, I'm an INTJ, my main color is white with blue, and my favorite, my love languages are quality time, words of affirmation, whatever, you know, and yeah, and you're just like, it's a personality type. And, you know, and people just put those things on there and then you're like, oh, okay, what does that mean? So anyway, both of us have been, as you mentioned, we've been widowed and we've been divorced. We had different time frames, of course, with our situations, but we're hoping to share a little bit with you guys today so that you can learn a little bit from our journeys.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so a little bit about me, my story. So I was married 2006 and my wife died of a bike accident, mountain biking. She was in a coma for 7 weeks before she passed back in 2018. I got remarried very quickly and then divorced very quickly. So 6 months after my wife died, I was divorced again. So very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. So a little bit of my perspective will come from my experience. And I mentioned this last time, but I wouldn't trade what I've gone through. Okay, so just understand that, that I wouldn't trade that. As we look, and my animations didn't work the way I wanted to, but that's okay. First thing we're going to talk about is patience. Okay. Patience, are we bearing our offenses without injury? Are we really being patient? Right? We're talking about marriage, talking about dating, right? Are we being patient? Are we angry at God? Are we angry at our late spouse? Are we angry with ourselves for decisions we've made? Right? If you are, let's practice patience. All right, we're going to get back into patience here. So let's be patient, right? Be patient, right? Sit around and wait. No, that's not being patient. Patience is not passive. Okay, patience is not passively waiting. Patience is active. It's an active acceptance of the process. Okay, there is a full process, whatever that process is to accomplish your goals and your dreams. Okay, so what are some goals? What are some dreams you have? Yell them out. You're in this class, so I hope you getting married. Perfect, thank you. It's a marriage class, a marriage and dating class. What are some other goals? Giant greenhouse. What else? Travel. What else?
I hope my kids will be independent.
Get the kids out of the freaking house. Thank you. What else? Happiness. Awesome. Survive. Thank you. We had a couple good ones in the last class too. Is hiking. I want to hike. I want to retire. I want to do these things. So, what are you doing today, right now, to work towards that goal that you just yelled out or that you just thought about and didn't say because you didn't want to help me? You're being present. Absolutely. You think about it, you're active, you came to the class, you said that. Yep, came to the class. What else are you doing?
Forcing ourselves to.
You're forcing yourself to do stuff that's uncomfortable that you don't want to do. Someone said something.
That continuing education.
You're continuing your education. That's awesome. And mine was, I'm patiently waiting for my kids to move out. So, right? And they won't. All right, so now I've gone and I've met someone. Right? Okay. What do we do now? I'm ready. Right? Well, you have to get out of your comfort zone to get to that place. Have you ever gone and worked out once and then you're done? Right? It was super uncomfortable. I did it once, I'm done, and I didn't get married somehow, right? I didn't get buff, right? It's one time, is it done? Or do we have to work at it? Right? It is a process. You have to work at it, and it is work. And it is just as much work as if you're training for a marathon, if you're lifting weights, if you're doing whatever goat yoga that people do nowadays or something like that. They have goats walk on them while they're doing yoga. Right? It's a process to get to your goals. Okay. And so great. We're gonna suffer through the dating process. Guys, you get introduced to this beautiful dime, suffer through that date. Ladies, you have to go out with this gorgeous guy, endure it well. All right. Okay. Now we've done that. We've submitted ourselves to that divine will. We take pride in our accomplishments. Spirit says, I'm ready to go to the next step and commit and get married and do all the things. Or is it the spirit, or are you just lonely? Lonely. Or is it the spirit, or are you just overwhelmed? Is it the spirit, or you're just horny? That's a thing, all right? Okay, but I'm ready. I can do it. I'm ready. However, let's just look at reality. All right. We've all been married once. So we fit this bullet point right here. Second marriages end in divorce 60% of the time. Some of the reasons for that include blended families. Check. Financial issues, lingering emotional damage and baggage from previous relationships. Okay, go fix yourself. Go find a therapist. Go hiking. Get a motorcycle. Get some therapy, retail therapy, right? I don't know. Whatever you need to do to get through those things that you're bringing to the table, that you're bringing and making the relationship have a lower chance of success. Some research even says that just the fact that you're widowed makes you a higher risk for divorce than those that aren't.
That's true, or
That's some research says that. Yeah. So
does some say the
whether it's true or not, I don't know.
does some say opposite of that, or that?
I have no idea. The statistics say it. So whether that's the cause or not, there's no cause. I'm not giving causation here. I'm just saying some possible predictors. Right. Okay. Now, so how do we combat? How do we combat that? How do we give ourselves the best chance at beating those odds? What do we do to make it work? My video won't play on here. Oh, maybe it would. Maybe it connected. No, okay, so I'm gonna play it here. So listen, you'll have to listen very closely to my phone. Thank you, sorry.
I know that this too shall pass. You feel bad right now? You feel pissed off? You feel angry? Yes, this too shall pass. You feel great? You feel like you know all the answers? You feel like that everybody finally gets you? There you are. This too shall pass. Time is your ally, and if nothing else, just wait. Just wait it.
You feel good? You feel like you have the answers, you feel like everything's going well, you feel like you met the guy, you met the woman. Just wait. Time is your ally. You feel like you'll never get married again, you'll never meet someone, you'll never get a date again. Just wait. Time is on your side. You feel like you've been remarried, you feel like it's not working out, I'm having a rough patch. Just wait. Time is your ally. Okay, the feeling will pass. It may ultimately still come true that you need to get married. It may ultimately come true that you need to get divorced again. Again, time is your friend there. You just got widowed, you had an awesome marriage, and you want that again next week, like I did. Someone should have told me, just wait. And they probably did, and I wasn't listening. So I'm telling you, just wait. Okay. There's no magic number. And that was my excuse. There's no magic number. I can beat the odds. Right. Give it time. Okay. A week is not. Just gonna throw that out there. Give it time. And give yourself the best chance to make it work. One of the ways we do that is through our next principle. George is going to talk about. Sorry, thank you.
Okay, so you attract who and what you are. So you want to find someone who is equal and complementary to who you are. So you want to work on becoming what you want to find. You know, if you brush your teeth and you floss every day, then you're more likely to find someone like that. But if you're not doing that, then you can't expect it from somebody else, right? I had someone recently on a dating app that said, what did he start out saying? He said, I hate it when people don't read through your profile. And they just, so I teased him a little bit on my thing about, wait, tell me a little bit about yourself, because that's what he said he hated. And anyway, so I teased him a little bit about it. And then he said, well, I like, he said in his profile, I like people that will ask questions. So I would ask him questions and then he would answer them. And then I'd ask him another question and then he'd answer it. And then I'd ask another question and he'd answer it. And he never asked me any questions, but he wanted someone who would ask questions and get to know him. So that's what we need to do is if we're expecting something, then we need to also be becoming that or delivering that. Our brains are not actually wired to find truth. They're wired to find evidence of belief. So what we believe is true is what our brains seek confirmation of. Okay, you can't really see this because we don't have internet, but you can kind of see this part right here because there's a picture underneath. Who sees blue?
Oh, no.
That's shit.
Yeah, of course. Okay, well, who sees pink? Does anybody see pink?
You just can't see the whole
You
thing.
have to see the whole thing. I see green.
That's interesting.
I see green, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because in our last class it was about split. Half of them saw pink, half of them saw blue. Who's seen this picture before?
You saw pink?
Did somebody see pink on the shoelace?
You have to have the whole shoe because the shadowing
Okay.
manipulates your brain.
we weren't able to manipulate you guys.
So obviously those who saw pink were wrong.
Okay, who sees the young woman?
Well,
Oh, baby, both, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna point this out for those of you that haven't seen this before. We have the young woman, she's turned away. There's her eye, her nose, her chin, her hair, her necklace. Okay, then we have the old lady. So here is her eye, her nose, her chin. No. So which one is true? They both are, right? So when we're in circumstances where we're dating, it's important to recognize that there could be truth on both sides, and that our brains will not always remember everything the same way. So there's semantic memories and episodic memories, and I actually basically one of them says I know, so it's factual. The other is details, it's memories, it's thoughts and emotions. So when you guys look at broccoli, what do we know? Facts about broccoli.
Green's healthy vegetable.
It's green,
It's healthy.
it's,
Yeah.
no, it's a vegetable. It's healthy for you, okay?
It grows great in my garden, when I cut the top off, the board grows back.
And that's a fact to her, yes.
It'll kill you.
Okay. Jared has feelings on broccoli. Right? That it will kill you. Anybody else have a contrary feeling?
It stinks.
Don't like it, it stinks. I think that's a fact, actually. Okay, so,
Goes well with butter.
It looks like little trees.
yeah,
I don't know if that's a factor.
right. It's a fact. I think that could be a fact. But either way, what we do when we have the experiences is our brain will compartmentalize. Is this semantic or is this episodic? Is this something that I'm going to want to, that I'm remembering the facts, or am I remembering the emotional details? And our emotions can change. So if we remember an emotion and we've stored it here about something, we can change it as time goes on. Okay, there's also hindsight bias that people have, which is, well, I knew that all along. I knew that was going to happen. Or they might, I feel like our teenagers always do that. It's always like, oh, I already knew that. You didn't tell me anything I didn't know. I remember going into the bishop's office for tithing settlement. And this wasn't a teenager. My son was like 5 or 6. And the bishop said, you know what's so great about this age, 5-year-old, is it's that you still know everything, Dad. And my son turns and he goes, he does not know everything. I know everything. So this should be really my son. He knew it all along. But hindsight bias is the common tendency for people to perceive past events as having been more predictable than they actually were. We all of a sudden know or knew that it was going to happen all along. And they're created a lot from the memories. Our episodic memories are created from our experiences. We just want to be mindful of that. When we're talking about someone that we want to find that's complementary but equal, I have blue and orange, which are complementary colors. And complementary colors, is one more valuable than the other? No. They're both important and used equally, but when we're looking at relationships, we want someone who is equal and complementary. So I want to talk about that a little bit, and I'm going to talk just for a second about my divorce. So when I remarried, I realized that we were in the same place on a lot of things, and that's what attracted me to him. But I didn't, going back to Jared's patience, I didn't take enough time. That's one of the things, to get to know him. And I realized that we had some things that were not similar, that were important. We did not believe in parenting our children the same way. So that made things really difficult. When it came to money, we had two very different perspectives. Not as far as income level, because we matched on that, but it was our perspective on whether money was good or evil. And energy. We didn't really carry the same energy. So emotions carry energy, and they vibrate at different frequencies. And when we're feeling grief, our body is vibrating at a lower frequency. When we're feeling desire, it comes up a little bit. When we're feeling love, it goes even higher. And the top is enlightenment. And when we're dating, we can find people. We usually attract people that are equal to us in that way. Or you might sit by somebody that you match with in that way. We kind of tend to find people that match with us. But with my ex-husband, there are some things where we just didn't match. And because he'd been divorced and I had been widowed, I wanted to come out. We met here. I was here with my first husband, and I was down a little bit because of the whole situation, even though it had been 2 years and I felt like I was in a good place. I didn't realize I was still down a little bit. And I met him there and we got married. And then I decided, okay, I'm better now. Let's come out of this. And he didn't want to. This is where he wanted to stay. And so it's important to make sure that, even though that's why if people are like both widowed, it's sometimes easier because they can come out of that together. And he just didn't want to change that circumstance. So I'm going to say this right now because I ran out of time to say it last time. When you get asked to speak, or when I get asked to speak, sometimes the Lord will tell you what to present on. And then sometimes he will tell you to have other people do it with you because they're so awesome. So when I was asked to speak, I really felt like I needed to include Jared, and I needed to include these amazing people right here, Cameron and Lindsay, who have both been widowed. And I'm going to give them the next 15, 18 minutes, just like last time.
Yeah.
Just like before.
All right.
Sit down.
All right. Hello.
Pass your papers up if you got any
Oh, yeah.
questions.
And if you have questions, if you'll pass them
Pass them up and we'll grab them.
up to the
I
front.
know, this is like fun getting into, it's like, I don't know, gonna try to think of what I said last time, because I don't know. My name is Lindsay. I have a very unique story. I actually was divorced before I got remarried, and the person I remarried passed away. And I have to put this out here. If I cry, I'm letting people down here. I'm a police officer, so showing emotions is not in our forte, but it might happen. So I apologize in advance. But that's what I do as a profession. Growing up, I had a very tumultuous childhood, and so all I wanted to do was just get out of the house. So I made some really bad choices. Wasn't patient, didn't think about things, and ended up getting a divorce and being in a very, very bad spot. And I realized I needed to kind of work on myself, figure out some things. That's when I joined law enforcement, started learning a little bit about who I wanted to be. And I met my late husband. He was an amazing man. And I felt, and I still believe this, but that he was a blessing in my life. That all of these bad things happened, but it was okay because I met him and we had a wonderful life together. So when I lost him, I felt kind of angry, like, why did you, like, out of anyone you could ask to have this happen, why did you ask me? I've already done really hard things. I don't think I can do this too. But growing up, I was a member of the church, and I had a very childlike faith, but it was very strong. I stopped going to church when I was 15. So most of my adult life, I was not a member, but I always believed. And that was the one thing that me and my late husband were not the same on. Wonderful man, but he believed there was nothing. And I believed that there was so much more. And so we would get in these arguments. He was like, okay, it's fine. He'd say, well, if you're right, I'll find out eventually. So we just kind of end on that. No. And so after he passed away, I just knew, and I had already had these thoughts that I needed to go back. I was missing something in my life. And so I started going back to church, and one of the things my bishop asked me was, what do you want? And that is the most important question that you can ask yourself in any situation is, what do you want? And I said, well, I want to go to the temple. I want to get my endowments. This is what, and so he gave me a list of things that I would have to do to make that dream a reality. And the one thing he told me I had to do was give up coffee. And I'm like, I can't give up coffee. Coffee donuts, hello. And so it was very hard. Like I thought, this is going to be very difficult for me. But I went home and I literally grabbed every ounce of coffee, all of my coffee makers. I had more than one. And I put them in a box and I just got rid of them. And people said, well, wasn't that hard? And it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, because in good faith, I did something that I thought was going to be hard. But because I had such a righteous desire, God kind of helped me out a little bit. And it wasn't as difficult. And I don't even think about it anymore. It's like, yeah, I smell it. It's like, it smells pretty good. But I don't think about needing to go to Starbucks every 5 seconds. So that was kind of my process after I lost my husband. And I was just, feeling so much support spiritually. I've never felt the spirit so strongly. And so even though this horrible thing happened, I got so many blessings, and I started thinking, okay, I need to stop just going to work and coming home and playing with my dogs. I'm a recluse. I need to meet some people. So I started going and hanging out with my friends, but I realized very quickly that sucked. Because all my friends were married. My married friends, and I started thinking they just felt sorry for me. Like, oh, poor Lindsay. But they were my friends, but I didn't want to hang out with them anymore. Like, I love them, but I was like, I can't do it. So I had a friend tell me that I should get on Mutual and find friends. I'm like, I am not getting on a dating app. I don't want to date. That's not, I just want friends. They're like, well, you can get on and you don't have to date people. So I created a profile, and when you look at it and it says ready for the ring, I was the girl that was ready for ice cream. I was the lowest, like, maybe I'll talk to you. Possibly. That's where I was on my where I wanted to talk to. I just wanted someone to talk to because I'm very social. I'm an E, not an I. Super social person. So believe it or not, Cameron was the third person that kind of popped up as a match for me.
Nice.
And I know. And I didn't know anything, but I mean, it was the blue eyes. I swiped up. I dated back when internet didn't exist. So I had no idea you could even look. I'm sorry, I didn't read a profile. I didn't know that was a thing. I just thought it was like a card game. It was like, yes, no, maybe so. I don't know. So we started talking, and one of the things that we have sort of in common is our love for the law.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. I'm a police officer and he's a lawyer. I found this out and I was like, man, because lawyers and cops are like vinegar and water. We do not mix. I was like, oh, everyone's like, oh, lawyer. And I'm like, no, lawyer. But then he told me he wasn't a defense attorney, so I gave him a chance.
Thank you.
If you're a defense attorney, I'm sorry. But so we met and we started talking and it just clicked. One of the things that I needed, we all need things and we have to know what we need and what we're looking for before we can even like think about dating. I wasn't even there. I was like, I don't even care. I just want to talk to someone. But one of the things that attracted me to Cameron was his humor. Even in the worst moments, he can make me laugh. I can be upset about something. I got punched in the eye like 2 weeks ago. He literally made me laugh about it like the whole time. I'm walking around, people are like, are you okay? Blink twice if you're okay. I'm like, he's like, that'll learn you. No, domestic violence is not okay. All right.
Top humor.
So I love that about him. He's just such a great guy and I just love talking to him. And this thought we started hanging out and he knew I wasn't ready to date, but he kept talking to me too. So yay. But there came a point where those feelings of just enjoying his company turned to me actually liking him. And that really scared me. Because I was not ready to be hurt again. I was like, I can't, and he was dating other people. And I was totally fine with that until I wasn't fine with that. And I thought, oh my gosh, I really like this guy. He's an incredible person. Why would he pick me? I mean, obviously, I have a very colorful story, and he's just this really great guy and great women he's dating. Why would he pick me? And I thought, I know how bad it would hurt if I just stopped talking to him now. I'll just end it. We'll be done. And he didn't know where I lived. My cop buddies would tell them I didn't work for my police department. It would be fine. I don't exist. He wouldn't be able to find me. I'd block him. It'd be great. And I was ready to just take off and for the hills. But I had this very strong thought to just pray about it. So I did, and I felt this comfort and peace that I was going to be okay, and that I would get an answer to my question. And my question was, if I should continue talking to Cameron. And I started reading my scriptures because I'm like, yay, I'm going to get an answer. And I'm not fine. And then I'm getting upset because I'm not getting an answer. And I had this thought, it's in his time, not your time. Relax. So I'm like, okay, so I put my scriptures away. And I got up and I started getting ready. I started getting ready for church, and I was curling my hair. And I've never had anything like this happen before or since, but it actually startled me. But this just really sweet woman's voice out of nowhere says, "You would be good for him." And I just knew that that was an answer to my prayer. And I also knew that it was his late wife, Rachel. We had talked about her so much. And I thought, wow, this amazing woman, and she's amazing. It gave me this wonderful blessing to reassure me that it was going to be okay. And from that moment, I knew that whatever was going to happen, I was going to be okay. And so it wasn't perfect. We had some things that, but if something came up where I had this thought, just see what happens. Just see what happens. So I just saw what happened, and we ended up getting married about 11 months after I lost my, it actually was almost a year. It was almost a year. It was like 2 weeks away from being a year. from when I lost my first husband or my late husband. And along the way, I just kept having that prompting that I was on the right path, that I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I was in a good spot because I also was, spiritually where I wanted to be. And so I had the ability to recognize some promptings and some guidance, because it is there, but sometimes we kind of block that a little bit. Sometimes we just can't feel it, even if somebody's trying to get through to us. My old bishop, he used this term. It's called SNR. It's like signal to noise ratio. And what he represented is it's radio signals and frequencies. But how he referenced it to the gospel was a lot of times the world is noise. It's all that noise. And if we can get rid of the noise, then that signal comes in very strongly. And so you try to reduce the noise in your life so that you can receive those promptings. And we don't know, like, there's no set time frame of when something's going to happen. You can be patient. You may not want something to happen, and it does. You're like, oh, this is great. But the blessings that I've had, and I know he's got stuff to say too, is, with our kids, our children, I didn't realize, I always wanted to be a mom. I love my children, but his children are a lot younger than my children. Mine were almost out of the house. And I got to be a mom again to some really awesome little beings. And even his oldest, he calls me his remastered mom. So we've got OG mom, and then I'm remastered mom. And it's just been so amazing, the connections that we've had as a family, because we constantly work together to address whatever it is that comes up in our lives. And we did that in our relationship, and we do that in our marriage. We did a test run, we cooked together, we did just normal grocery store trips together. We didn't go on these awesome adventures all the time. It was just normal things. And how does that look? Can we actually function as a couple when it's not super exciting all the time? So.
All right, my turn on
Yeah.
that. No, okay. So she's obviously very funny too. So that was very attractive as well. Something I learned quite quickly. I hope you take away at least a couple items, and going along with what Jared and George are presenting. One is being patient, and other, be who you want to attract. And so just a little more though about that. If I tell a little more detail about how we met and got married. We had very different backgrounds. She talked about hers. Mine was I went on a mission. I went to BYU. I met my late wife there at BYU. We got married, went on to have kids, graduate school, typical really. And then she had cancer. And so we had some time to plan and talk about things. And then she passed, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be here. So, but we had some interesting talks before that. She always said that, Cameron, the kids need a mom, and you need, she said, you do better with a wife. And after, being a single dad for a while, I realized she's very much correct. And she was this is the kindness she has. She literally asked some of her best friends in our ward at the time before she died, as well as friends from other, mutual friends we had. About 5 or 6 months later, those friends came to me and said, by the way, we're on a mission from Rachel. She told us we're supposed to tell you to start dating. It's okay. She said, it's okay. And so when Lindsay talks about that experience from the other side of the veil, I know it's not just she would be good for me because maybe I need help, which I obviously do, but it was real more concerning about Lindsay feeling inadequate. She was saying, no, you'd be good. It wasn't really about me. It was actually about her. And I always appreciate her on that. She was 6 months out when we met. I'd been dating a lot, and I was almost 3.5 years out when we first met. So I'd been through it. in fact, I laughed at the other class. I said there was a widower page for the LDS and widows, like really dating. We started talking about first dates, and I finally just let everyone know, and I got made fun of a little bit and laughed at. I said, I've been on like 80, yeah, I've been on like 85 first dates. And they're like, what? Like, if you are, I know people thought you're a player. I'm like, no, that's not it at all. But when you, I have them written down. I do. I did, because I decided to keep track. I was just curious. But I mean, my background is law, but I also have a chemical engineering background. I practice patent law. And so I have this engineering side, which I knew typically you got to go numbers. You have to teach so many, knock on so many doors before you teach a first discussion. You have to teach so many first discussions before you get to a second. And I thought about the way I was new. I have to do my work. And part of that, though, was also trying to become what I hope to attract. I tried to, put it bluntly, get my crap together where maybe I needed it. Work through any grief things before I could really get in a relationship, and be okay with getting relationships and with them ending, maybe not the best way, and being okay with being heartbroken, and remembering to be patient. Your heart might break a few times along the way. So my point is you can't have a checklist necessarily of like, well, it's been 6 months, I'm ready, or it's been a year and a half, I'm ready. Maybe it's good to be patient, give yourself time, whatever that may be for you. Become who you hope to attract again. I know when we were dating, we did a lot of the fun things like she talked about. We did do a lot of fun activities and adventures, but we also got to the point where we're like, we just actually started doing normal life together because we just wanted to be with each other. And that, I should have said this last class, I didn't. One of the best tips I got was from a different conference where the presenter, he was talking about, he was a psychologist or something like that at BYU, and he talked about dating, relationships, and marriage and whatnot. But he said, life is like pulling a hand cart. And so he said, find someone you enjoy pulling a hand cart with. And I kept that back in my mind, and I realized it didn't matter what we were doing, I had fun. We could have been cleaning the kitchen deep, we could have been cleaning out a garage, we moved. We did all sorts of really tough things, and we still do. We were laughing last night. We had this new couch we're trying to put in a part of a basement we just finished, and we're out at 10 o'clock in snow, moving this heavy couch by ourselves with a dolly around the corner of the house, slipping and sliding. Like the neighbors would think we're crazy, but we were still having fun. Even if sometimes we got a little impatient, like, well, let's do this way. It didn't matter. We still loved each other, and we still were happy when the job was done. So I guess I'll just end it with saying, be patient with yourself. Your story may be different. Find someone who be the person you want to attract. Find the things that's important to be equally yoked. I think I'll end with that. One big thing I noticed in dating some other people is some areas maybe we were a little different in. And with Lindsay in particular, and one especially was the gospel. I was patient with her because I was worried. I remember when I talked to my mom, I just said, how would you feel if I date someone who has tattoos? And she was like, well, as long as she's a good person, and they're faithful. I'm like, okay. And I wanted to make sure, because she started becoming active about the time we started dating. And I was like, oh, make sure that's the right place. I was worried that it was recent. She was recently, lost her husband. And I was like, this is too soon for her. And I kind of kept my distance a little bit because I was worried, but I was patient. But there was something about us together. I called it, she was stupid cute. I was stupid because she was so cute. I didn't care. I said, I shouldn't, but I'll probably go anyway. But that's not quite true. I still did date some other people because I wanted to be sure. I was patient with the process until it came a point where some of these things happened. One of the big ones was we were on a trip on the way home from Idaho. We had a bunch of time to talk. And she mentioned this experience with Rachel. It happened a while ago. I didn't even know about it. And we had one of the most amazing in-depth discussions that really realized we are equally yoked in these things. And it was in the details. There are so many details. I could go on and on. I don't have time. I'm already taking too much. But trust in that process, and Heavenly Father will guide you. He is in the details. All right, I'll leave that now to you.
You see, this is why, because if the Lord had gone straight to Cameron and Lindsay, or if someone from the conference had gone to them, they wouldn't have answered the phone. And so that's why they came to me, and then I went to them and said, just come for a little bit, because these guys are amazing. So thank you so much for being here. And for Jared, because it's so important, I feel, to have all the perspectives. You have so many different perspectives here. We don't have time for Q&A, but if you guys do have some questions that you want to ask, feel free to come up. I just want to share this last quote from Elder L. Todd Budge. He says, "We will shed tears of joy for the multitude of his tender mercies, including," this is not eliminating, but including the sorrows that made space for more joy. And I want to testify that that's true. I think we can all affirm that whatever we go through, God is in the details. And I say that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Sorry, did you want
Great job. Again, thank you so much for making me not have to talk alone.
Yeah, I know, that was the real reason.
I wanted to play.
Yeah.
I bet it'll.
I got vetted too.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, okay.
Can I ask a favor of you two?
Oh, we said like, say like, what's the name?
Can you two- can we have a group hug? Oh, thank you. Now, I have to say, you look younger than you must. You have aged well. You must have aged well. But you have older kids than he does.
Later than I did.
There, yeah, because.
Margaret, this is her.
Oh.
You're like,
So, we can do that. We should actually leave over. We just finished our basement, we put the media room in, it's like real time and stuff like that, so. And there's, what's the first gonna say? Oh, wait. Is it Allred? No, no.
Yeah.
It was the- Yeah, really? I wish-
Yeah, but you know, she's really.